Okay, but what is victim consciousness? Essentially the stories and beliefs, habits that reinforce the narrative that keeps us feeling helpless and unable to truly make a change. You see the negative in everything, feeling helpless and powerless to make a change because you feel that there is an oppressor. You feel that somebody holds the keys to your happiness, to your peace, to your joy. It felt like I could not belong to anybody anymore. How could I? When I gave everything that I had out of the purest intention, and yet I did not receive any love or support in return. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nicole, a life and business coach for high-functioning women. I'm a self-proclaimed foodie, content creator, educator, and your new abundance bestie. In my world, we talk about all things to do with elevating your life. I post weekly videos helping the everyday woman embody her highest self, create inner wealth, master her mindset, unlock her femininity, and be an absolute boss in life. I create resources, trainings, and host experiences online and in person in order to help you reconnect to your true self. Not the one you think you need to be, but the you that you were born to be. So you can reclaim your power and amplify your voice to lead, love, and create as a woman. If you like my vibe and you want a little bit more abundance in your life, hit subscribe to be notified whenever I drop a new episode, and be sure to check out the free resources in the description below. I choose struggle and stress over peace and joy. So my operating belief is that nothing comes without striving and effort. And rather than trusting that I can take the path of least resistance, which is the promise of God, the promise of source, the promise of life, I can't take that path and enjoy that process of being supported because I choose to operate under the belief that I must always struggle and I must always stress. Crazy, right? But anyone resonating? I don't believe I can truly have a different life to what I've always known. I question whether my reality will ever change rather than living as if it already is. I take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, believing that every setback is a reason to prove that I'm not capable rather than rising above it and being resilient in believing that the setbacks are actually the exact setups I need in order to be successful. A moment, please. That was brilliant. Your setbacks are the exact setups that you need in order to get to what your soul is here to do. I believe the story that I don't have enough and cannot live carefree. I need to have my strategy. I need to have a backup plan. I need to control the way it happens in order to safeguard peace. Rather than resting in the knowing that I am enough and I will always have enough, and that has always been the fact. I trust what I plan more than I trust the intelligence that is beyond me and the wisdom of uncertainty. I still love that saying, the wisdom of uncertainty. Deepak Chopra is the one who wrote this first, at least to my knowledge, and I actually shared this in the previous episode in the quote of the episode. I cannot enjoy what I do without seeking an external reward, attaching an expectation of a return, or ascribing monetary value to the work I do. Is a part of me that's triggered by all the volunteering that I had done for little to no acknowledgement. And it's not that I wasn't fulfilled. I truly was, because the service that I gave, especially in youth ministry, really allowed me to feel on my purpose and to genuinely help people change their lives. But it was the way the community was run and the fact that I wasn't supported after when it really mattered. I use the metrics of the world, material metrics, to fulfill my soul's desires, which can only really be filled immaterially, the things that are not of this world. So I attach my ability to help others and to be of valuable service to them based on metrics that don't really make a difference, things that I don't actually care about, and yet I'm obsessed with seeking them out, like how popular I am, how much money I make, how many people are buying from me, how big my business is. And like I said, I channeled a lot of my personal wounds into my personal mission. I wanted to meet the wounds or meet the gaps that I never got by trying to control. And so I built a business from hustle rather than focusing on helping people. I was like, how much money can I make? How many people can buy from me? It was just this graspy, scarce energy that led me onto this hustle cycle that caused me to burn out in this relentless pursuit to feel like I was enough and I was worthy. It's deep. We don't ever do anything just because we do it. There's always an underlying motive, whether or not you're aware of it. This is how it works, you guys. We try to restore the parts of us that have been fragmented, parts of me that didn't feel that I belonged. I needed to create that belonging by doing something. I wanted to restore the part of me that felt like I was invaluable, that I was not valuable. And in order to replace that or to meet that need, I literally tried to create value with materials. I need to have this, I need to have that. What qualifies me is not how much I achieve, but in the soul, I know that what qualifies me is actually the divinity within me. Like the me that is me is what makes me qualified to be excellent, to be successful, to be influential, not what I attain, achieve, or do. I do not feel deserving of rest, so I believe I must struggle and attempt to earn rest. Otherwise, I've simply not done enough. My current paradigm says that what I do and achieve is what grants me access to experience an easeful, peaceful, and joyful life. This narrative says that life needs to be hard and efforts, including building a business, needs to be so strugglesome that I can't possibly believe that I'm making a difference unless I'm struggling. You guys, how many of us believe this? How many of you believe this? And this keeps you from enjoying the journey. It keeps you building the business, yes, but building it miserably and in compromise of your well-being and balance and doing the things that light you up along the way. We literally tell ourselves this all the time. And as you know, I used to be a business coach. I used to coach specifically the hustle girlies and helping them really recognize where their hustle is coming from, because there is no emergency. There is no emergency. Nobody's forcing you to do anything you're telling yourself to do. And so to move out of that narrative, we have to recognize what is it that we're trying to attain and achieve. I'm convinced that little makes no difference, and that I am lacking something in order to be effective. There is a belief that I need more because little does not make a difference. There's a belief that more is better. If I have more of that money, if I have more of those clients, if I have more influence, more metrics, then I will insert the thing that I'm trying to achieve. And the last victim story is, I believe the lie that joy and fulfillment is attached to accomplishment. There has to be conditions and circumstances that have to happen in order for me to experience joy and fulfillment in my own existence. This is a very conditional way of living, and it just says that just waking up and breathing is not enough, and therefore you have to always be achieving and attaining. And I think for a long time, because these were my victim stories and I didn't even really know them, I knew of them, I heard of people saying them, I would say them myself to my clients, but I never really came face to face with, like, what is my story? Where did my wounds come from? And have I possibly not healed or worked through some of them? Is there still parts of me that are still in the shadow that I'm not addressing? And that's what happened this weekend when I was in church and I was in the worship. I literally just felt this, like, it was like a veil removed from my eyes. I felt like literally a Bible character. And I was like, damn, how have I not known this? How has it just been right under my nose this whole time? So anyway, those are some of my victim stories. That's the first step, you guys. We're gonna go into the step-by-step now, and I'm gonna just blitz through them. But what I want you to do is exactly what I have done. If you have heard any of the things that I just shared and they actually resonate true for you as well, you can rewind and write that down and then explore, where did this story come from? And that will be the beginning that can help you get started on this exploration. Let's do this. Guided step-by-step reflections that are going to move you from victim consciousness to a place of liberation and writing your own narrative rather than reacting to the narrative that you've constantly told yourself. Step 1 is asking yourself, what do I feel currently helpless about? Or what are the cycles that I'm currently stuck in? The first thing with awareness is grow awareness for the patterns that are currently happening. Everything is cyclical. Everything has a pattern. And so if you are, let's say, constantly overworking, there is a reason for you being in that overworking cycle. And so firstly, identify what is it that you feel helpless about. Maybe you feel helpless about the fact that you keep overworking. Just identify the pattern. Maybe you feel helpless about the fact that you keep binge eating. Maybe you feel helpless about the fact that you keep people pleasing. Identify some of these stories and then these cycles. And then secondly, you're going to identify the stories. Identify the cycle, identify the stories. What stories am I telling myself that make this feel true or inescapable. So the pattern that you identified, let's say people pleasing, what stories are you telling yourself that make this feel like your only possible reality? I literally just coached my client on this, and she said that the story she told herself was that her boss was going to be disappointed and that there was no way that she could ever say anything other than yes, because she felt like she was going to disappoint people. But the story she told herself was that people were always going to be disappointed if she said her opinion or if she declined to take the task. And that's not true. We challenged that. We got her to literally challenge that story by thinking of all the times where she said no and people were okay with that. And that is often the truth. It's not actually always true, the story that you tell yourself. It just feels really true because your fear is amplifying the thing that you don't want to happen. Your brain is wired to focus on the things that are negative because it's primitive. It's here to help protect you. So if you know that there is a tiger down that road, then you're not going to go there. So your brain literally focuses on the negative, and you just need to know this about your brain and work with it. Third step is asking yourself, how am I repeating this narrative with my actions? This narrative is your example of a victim narrative. How am I currently repeating this with my actions? What behaviors are you doing that are repeating this story over and over and over on loop? And some of these behaviors may be so subtle and so out of your awareness, so unconscious. For example, every time your boss looks at you, maybe you look down. And that is fueled by the story that you don't have a right to be at the level of belief or to be at the level of value as your boss or as an authority. You view them as more superior than yourself. You value them more than you value yourself. And that's why you always people please, right? How are you repeating this victim narrative with the actions you are taking? It can be something like that, or it can be literally every time someone asks you to go out, you say yes without even considering your energy capacity or what's on the rest of your schedule or what you prioritize. Bring awareness to these actions. Now, next step, if I could write a whole new story, what would I look like and how would I be engaging in that story? And I like to do this with visualization or meditation, and you don't need to make it crazy complicated. You can literally just put on your favorite song or put on something calming, close your eyes, and imagine in relation to that circumstance or that scenario, when people ask me to do something that I don't want to do or I don't have capacity to do, my ideal self, how would she engage? Would she engage in a conversation, very calm, cool, collected? Would she just straight up say no? Whatever she would do, just visualize it and paint that picture in your mind. Show your brain that there is another story and write it. Write the story. If it helps you, you can literally journal the picture over and over again. And I like to write my journal entries in first person. For example, I walk into work and everyone is stressed out. My boss asks me to stay overtime and I know that I have something to do. I look at my boss and I am calm, I'm cool, collected, and I tell him I need some time to look at my schedule before I commit. I then look at my schedule, I evaluate what is my priority. I realize that what matters to me is going home early and getting a good night's rest and being with my partner, whatever. And so I approach my boss and I tell them this from this calm, cool, collected energy. Like, notice how all of that is first person. It's I ams and very much like in the now. That's what you want to do. The third last step is, as an act of self-responsibility, with this story in your mind that you just written, what can I consciously choose to believe about this experience I'm having? So the first one is you painted me a picture of the story. Now you're going to look at the belief system. So your current reality, your current belief system is that your boss gets to dictate what you get to do. Your belief system in this new story is you get to dictate what you get to do with your time and how you feel, right? That is all. As an act of self-responsibility, I can consciously choose to believe this. Being conscious requires no efforting. It's just about awareness and then using that awareness to integrate what is the story I want to believe. You don't need to do anything at this point. Next step, the second and last step, is asking yourself, what can I think and feel that will support this belief system? So now we're looking at the belief. We're using the belief that I choose the experience I have. And then we're going to use the thinking and feeling, our thought and our emotion to create conscious experience, a lived reality. Because as you know, if you've watched any of my visioneering series, your thought creates your feeling, which creates your actions, which creates your lived reality. And so what can you think and feel instead? That's going to align to this new belief system that I am in control of what I do with my time and how I feel. Maybe the thought that you can start to think is, I am allowed to have an opinion. And the feeling you can choose to embody, rather than feeling constantly like you are helpless, maybe the feeling you can take is control. You get to control. You can get to assume the feeling of somebody who has control. Again, this can be so different for you, but this is just an example. And the last thing is, what is one aligned action that I can take to move out of this victim story? What is the action that you can take to move from the victimhood narrative to actually changing your reality? I call it an aligned action because you don't need to do a billion actions. You don't need to overhaul your entire life and feel like you have to reinvent yourself overnight. It's about one tiny degree, one fraction of a change at a time. You don't get to your best self or your most aligned self from changing everything overnight. It's not sustainable. You just change degree by degree, and eventually you realize you're on a completely different trajectory to where you currently are. And so realizing that your aligned action is really just a small micro step. It might be that example that I said earlier, when your boss looks at you, you don't look down, you look them in the eye, you smile at them, you give them the energy that you want to receive. If you don't want to feel crappy every time your boss looks at you, or you don't want to feel less than, then don't act less than. Like, literally blend it all together and start aligning your action with your newfound thoughts and feelings and beliefs. This is a simple journal exercising. This is a simple journal exercise that you can undergo, and it will take you a good 10-15 minutes. If you want, you can talk this out as well with a friend. And if you are someone who likes to have more of a coaching experience, you can click my description box below. I've got a realignment call where you can actually book that with me, and I can take you through this process as well. Just make sure that in the description you include, when you book your call, you include that you watched this video and you want to be taken through this process. I offer these free realignment sessions because I know that sometimes all we need is somebody to talk to and to reflect back to us what is actually happening internally. And sometimes doing that self-exploration or journaling or even meditation can be difficult if you've never done it or tried it yourself, and it can be hard to keep yourself on track. So if you are somebody who's watching this and you're like, damn, I need some help, I want to do this, but it's hard, I can't do it on my own, I need accountability, then go ahead and book that free life realignment call in the description below. And the final thing I will say is that if you don't know already, I've just released the That's Life podcast, and this is probably, if you're watching this on YouTube, you might be someone who's not aware. If you're listening to this on podcast, and obviously you're here already, so no biggie there. But if you're on YouTube and you're wanting to actually follow the That's Life podcast, you can click the link in the description box as well. And this is a podcast where I'm going to explore more of the soulful topics of life, diving deeper into why we do what we do as humans and how to simply get the most out of this marvelous journey called life. I talk a lot about unserious and serious topics, inviting guests from all walks of life and experiences, sharing my personal stories in order to inspire you to experience more of what matters, to live a fuller life of joy, peace, fulfillment, and love. All right, my loves, I hope this helped you, and I hope that you remember that nobody's coming. Nobody's going to change the game for you. Nobody's going to reinvent you for you. You have to stop blaming. You have to stop playing the victim card, and you have to start taking responsibility, and you can start that today. How you choose to believe, think, and feel and act in relation to your current experience here and now. All right, my loves, be blessed. I love you. I'll see you next time. Mwah.
If you want to take your abundance to another level, I want to help you. I'm a life and business coach for women who want to step into their next level by activating wealth from the inside out. To help you take your first step to unlocking true abundance and your aligned potential, I'm giving you free resources, workshops, and masterclasses that you can access on demand right now. Check out www.nicoleconception.co/free-resources to get your hands on it. For more videos like this, check out the other playlists and series I have on this channel, and don't forget to hit subscribe to be notified whenever I drop a new video. And if you're more of the podcast type, check out Freedom in Flow, where I dive even deeper into the concepts that will help you create less hustle and more flow, abundance, and alignment in your life and business. Now, if you're a reader, you'll want to subscribe to my email list for unfiltered, honest, and most importantly, applicable life upgrades. Now, don't be a stranger. Connect with me on Instagram and TikTok and send me a message. I love getting to know you and your story. It's why I do this. Okay, my lovely, that's all for now. I'll see you soon. Signing off, Nicole.